And on to page 2. So as we saw before, there are 3 schedules on this page. Since we put the calculation summary on page 1, and the other 2 schedules here don't apply to this project, let's delete all 3 of them and use this page for something else. So schedules are considered drawing entities, so I'm going to select delete window, draw my window such that it includes at least a piece of each of the schedules that I want to go away. When I click the second corner of the window, those 3 go gray. It says down here 3 selected. Right click and they're gone. A nice clean page now. Now you may recall that page 3 has the calculation grid at the top. The calculation for the tabletop, say there. Right? So let's put the calculation grid for the screen on page 2. To do that, I need to create a place for it. First we go to the Page Builder Toolkit over here, Page Builder Toolkit, and there's a button for the viewport command. Any view in model mode that you wish to include in the Page Builder report needs to go into a viewport. This page doesn't have a viewport yet, so we'll need to make one. When I click on the viewport button, the command line down here is essentially telling me to specify where I want the viewport to be located on the page. So I'm going to click 2 opposite corners of a rectangle, and I'm going to have them a little bit, I don't want to go all the way to the border. I want to be a little bit inside the border. I also want to have some room below the viewport for a small description. So I think about like that would be good. When I click the second button, then this dialog opens. And up at the top, I need to select which of the 2 views I want to have in here. Remember, view 1 is the tabletop, and that's on page 3. So I do want the screen for this one. I'm going to select display here for the view type. Notice I could select extents or limits, if that would be my preference. The location and size are shown here according to how I drew that rectangle. For border, I'm going to select no border, because there's already a border out there around the page, so I'm making the decision that I don't want to have another border around the viewport itself. For scale, I'm going to select scale to fit, scale to fit the viewport. Right? You could set a specific scale, 1 inch equals how many feet, but you would want to make sure that it is going to fit on your page. In the label section down here, I'm going to select description. And then you get to watch me type again, illuminance on screen, parentheses, FC for foot candles. The text size here, 0.2 inches, that works for us. And as before, if I didn't like the font, I actually detest Courier New, but I'm not going to bother to change it here, but it would be doable. And I click OK. Now, as an aside, back when we selected the sample report, if we selected one with a metric size paper, such as A2 or B4, then the text size in that dialog would be shown in millimeters instead of inches. So now I clicked OK and the dialog closed, and the viewport is created. If I don't like its position, I can move it about on the page. Right? I can move it up or down or back and forth or whatever if it's not quite right. On to page 3. Now, as you can see, page 3 has a viewport with model mode view called view_1 in it, showing the illuminance on the table. As it happens, the viewport was drawn large to accommodate whatever might be in view 1 back on model mode. That's why the description is way down here. It's pretty tall, right? And so we can easily change its size and or position. What I do is I'm going to move my cursor down here so it's just above where that description is. See that double-headed arrow? That means I'm at the edge of the viewport. So now I hold down my left mouse button and slide up, right? So that now it moves the description up, which looks a little bit better. So what's displayed here? It looks like extents, and I don't really like the way it fits. I'd like it to be the way that I have it displayed in model mode. So to make sure that it is, I right-click in here, anywhere in here in the viewport, right-click, select Properties, and I'm going to select Display here. It was extents. Now I'm going to select Display. So I'll have it displayed just the way it is in model mode. Click OK. And now I'm going to fix this a little bit further. The edge of the viewport is right at the edge of the border, and that's why the border looks like it's broken right there. So I just have to move that in a little bit. That looks a little better. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go change one more thing. The description says view of point by point. That's not very interesting, or not very helpful. So properties, I'm going to change this to say illuminance on table, FC for foot candles. And notice this is a different font and a different text size, just to show you as an example, different fonts and different text sizes and what they look like on the page. So that's a little bit better. Now on to page 4. This is where we want to put that image that is currently in render mode. Images from render mode and other kinds of images, such as JPEGs or bitmaps, must go into an image port. There's a button over here for creating an image port. There's actually one already here. Right. This isn't actually editable text, it's just an image of text. So to change the image, I right-click on it and select Properties. And by the way, this is also how you would change the AGI32 logo on the master page to a different image, perhaps your company logo. So first, I need to click on the Select New Image button here. Now, if you were doing the image on the master page, you would use the Browse button. You would go find the image that you want and bring it back. What we want is an image shown in render mode. Oh, first, let me show you also that you can, if your luminaire, these luminaires are from an Instabase, and since images of the luminaires were included in the Instabase, I can select them here. And then you have the Browse button to go get, so if your luminaire didn't come from an Instabase, but you have a picture of it or any other image, you would browse to go get that. We want the image shown in render mode. So I go to the Render tab, then I select on the render name here, and this is that render name is the name of the image that's back there in render mode, the view back there in render mode. So I've got that, click OK. Right. Now notice the rotate button here. If this image was less square and I wanted to fit on this page, if it would fit better sideways, I could rotate it sideways, and each time I click the rotate button it goes around another 90 degrees. Now I'm going to change the description here to something a little bit better. And view of conference room. In view of conference room, and click OK. The dialog closes and the image from render mode is placed in the viewport. What if I want to resize this image? Uh-oh, notice there's a little lock there. See that lock at the edge? So that's preventing me from resizing it. I could move it up and down, back and forth, right and left on the page, but I can't resize it. So let's see how to change that. So again, I'm going to right-click in the image port and select Properties, and then uncheck the check mark that was here for lock size, unselect that, and then click OK. And that lets me, there was briefly a hint there, and the hint basically said be careful about unlocking and resizing, because if you resize it too big or too small, you might get a pixelation effect. Okay, that's fine. So now I can resize it. Notice that if I make it smaller this way, it keeps its aspect ratio. So I can stretch it in one direction, or actually I can stretch it in both directions. Right. So it won't let me distort it by stretching it in one direction and not the other. There's one more thing I want to do with this report. On page 2, we have the view of the calc points on the screen, and on page 3, it's the calc points on the table. Well, I would rather have the table illuminance come before the screen illuminance. This is an easy adjustment to make. Over here, I'm going to click on the button to move current page left. Excuse me, move, no, that's not the one, this one. Move current page left. Okay, so now this is the table illuminance, and it's on page 2. And page 3 is now the screen illuminance. The next thing we're going to look at is how you would go about creating a page builder report from scratch, starting with a blank page. You'll use many of the same commands here that we've looked at already. One other thing that we're going to look at is 2 ways to place a title block in your report. So let's go to AGI 32. Different project. As you can probably tell, this is a roadway project. It was calculated with the direct only method, so we don't have anything to see in render mode. I also want to point out that the units of distance for this file are meters. See down here, meters in lux? Now let's go to Page Builder. Render mode is grayed out because the calculate button is blue. It's the direct only method that's selected. So if you don't calculate reflected light, then there's nothing to see in render mode. Go to Page Builder. So this time, instead of selecting an open existing report, we're going to stay on this tab, Create New Report. The first thing to do is select our paper size. When I click in the paper size field, I can see that there's quite a few options here. You can choose ordinary 8.5 by 11 paper, or any of the various metric sizes, or U.S. engineering size papers. Even there's even a couple of German size papers. I'm going to select down here D size sheet, 22 by 34 inches. Which is a commonly used engineering size sheet. I'm going to use the same method to change the orientation to landscape instead of portrait. Notice that I have US units inches for my paper size, even though my project is in meters and lux. So they don't have to all match. It doesn't have to be all US or all metric. You can have combinations. I can also change the margins, as you can see here, and if I change the margins, it'll change your working area, which is a good thing to know. So now I just click OK, and we have our clean slate to work on. Before we do anything on this page, such as add a title block, we need to decide whether we want to have a master page for this report. If the report will have multiple pages with certain components the same on each page, then a master page is a good idea. So here in the Page Builder Toolkit, I'll click on the button to set current page as master page. This button. All right? So now it says down here, this is the master page. Next question, how many pages do I want in my report? Well, let's say I'm not sure, so I'll just say 1 for now. I can always add more later. One way to add a page is to select Insert Blank Page. Oops, that's not the one. Insert Blank Page. So that, as you see, that we are on page 1 now. That is a completely blank page, regardless of what might be on the master page, which was nothing. And that's so this is completely blank because we said insert blank page. Now our next steps will be to add whatever content to the master page we wish to have on all the pages of the report. So let's go back to the master page. A title block is a great example. As I mentioned earlier, there's more than one way to do this. Let's first import a title block from AutoCAD. This must be a DWG or DXF file in order to bring it into AGI 32. But it also must be saved in model space in AutoCAD, which is not the standard location for title blocks. So let's assume that you have created a title block in AutoCAD. It will generally be in paper space, but you'll need to copy it into model space. You'll also need to scale it to fit the paper that you'll eventually be printing on. That might also mean assigning units, feet, millimeters, or whatever. Finally, you need to save it as its own DWG file. Going back to the PowerPoint here, this is a brief list of the steps. In Paperspace, I select the entities to copy. I type the command copy base. I select the base point. That might be the lower left corner, for example. In Model Space, I type paste clip. Then I type 000. That's where I want the base point that I selected 2 steps ago to be placed. Now, if I'm working in feet, this title block will will be sized in feet in model mode, and therefore you need to scale it or assign units either here or during the import process into AGI 32 so that it comes in the right size for the paper that you will print it on. If you do it during the import into AGI 32, you'll need to select both the correct units for the CAD file and the correct units to convert to in AGI 32. The last step is to save this file as a DWG or DXF, making it ready to import into AGI 32. Next, we'll do that import. Okay, this is a completely new file in AGI 32. It has no content so far. I'm going to set the units down here to be meters. The illuminance units don't matter because this is simply for the purpose of that title block. So I'll click OK there. Why meters? Because that's what my original file, the roadway calculations file, is in. I'm going to want to bring in this title block with the same units. Next, I click on the CAD import button, and I select D-size title block in model space only -feet. That's the one that I've saved for this. Now AGI 32 is guessing at the units in the CAD file. See those question marks? If the guess is correct, you can leave it as is. However, I happen to know that the units in this CAD file are in feet. Let's change that there because that's how the file was created for me by your friend and mine, Doug Ross. If you don't know the units in your CAD file, then you'll need to find out in order to avoid scaling problems. So I selected feet, and it's going to convert to meters because that's what I have selected down here. Checking the drawing extents here, total extents in the X direction, 0.838 meters. That's a little less than 1 meter, right? Which would be appropriate for 34-inch wide D-size paper. I can click on the CAD Viewer button to confirm that this is the title block. There it is. But it doesn't tell me anything about the size of it. Now I should be good to go now, so I'll click OK here and finish the import process. Now the next step, in order to be able to use this title block in AGI 32's page builder mode, I need to make this whole thing into a block. That will make it available for future projects in AGI 32 as it will be saved in a blocks library on this computer. So in the Drawing and Schedules toolkit, I click on the little down arrow next to this button that says, it looks like a concrete block, right? Create block. And I'm going to select all, and the command line is asking for the insertion point. The lower left corner is usually a good spot right there. And the dialog that opens, I need to give the block a name. That'll make it available for future use with other AGI 32 projects in this computer. So I'm going to type example title block D paper. I click OK. Now I click on the name just once and it shows me the extents down here. X extents, a little bit less than 1 meter. That's good because it's 34-inch wide, right? So that's good confirmation. Now I simply click Close. The block has been created from those imported drawing entities and saved for me for future use. So now I can go back to the roadway file that I was working on before. This is the roadway file that I was working on before. See, there it is. So as you remember, we got as far as setting the master page and adding a page 1. So right now we're on the master page, which is where we want to be because I want to bring in the title block here. I want to bring in that new block that I just created into my report. In the Drawing and Schedules toolkit over here, Page Builder has its own Drawing and Schedules toolkit. I click on the Add Block button. See, it looks like a concrete block with a little plus sign. Add Block. And it goes to my list of saved blocks, and it shows them to me here. That's the one I just made in the other instance of AGI. I check those converted dimensions. Here is converting it now into inches. says inches. So 33, just about 33 inches. So that's this, this space here, right? We want it to fit inside that dotted outline, which would be just under 34 wide. So that's good. And I click Insert, and now it's attached to my cursor. So I'm going to bring it down here and line it up with this lower corner. Click. And there's another one attached to my cursor, but in case I want to put in more than one, right? One is fine, so I'll right-click to end that command. And now I have a title block. It's located on this page builder sheet, and I can proceed to edit it for this project. So to do that, I'll first need to explode the block into its original components. So I click the little down arrow next to, see the bomb, next to the little cherry bomb, and explode all. And then I right-click, see the command line is waiting for me to right-click to confirm that selection. It doesn't look any different, but now it's been exploded. And now I can select Edit Text, and I can zoom in here on Approved. No, not that one. I'm going to zoom in on Revisions. And I'm going to type My New Project. Okay, there. Now what about deleting things that you don't want? So I can click the delete command and select this word approved, and then right-click to make it go away, right? And I'll zoom extents again. It might be nice to add a logo to this title block. As you recall, images such as logos must be placed in an image port. In the Page Builder Toolkit, I click on the Image Port button. Next, I click on the Browse button, and I want the JPEG image, right? So there's the image that I want. Click OK, right? Now, I'm going to rotate it because it's going to go over here. I want it to be rotated so it's oriented the same way as everything else, right? So rotate it. I'm going to select Border. Now over here in the location and size, I'm going to unlock the size. I could set the location and size here, but if I leave them as they are, it's going to come over towards the upper left, and then I'll just move it and resize it as I need to. It's easier than working with these numbers, I think. So border is what I want. Block size is unlocked. I don't want a description. And then I click OK. So it comes in big. So now I can resize it. Whoops, no, move it over. And put it right in there. There we go. How's that? Okay, so now if instead of importing your title block, you would prefer instead to create a title block in Page Builder, that's very easy. In the Drawing and Schedules toolkit, you have commands for drawing lines and rectangles, even circles, adding text, all the various kinds of things that you'd want to do. In the text dialog, you can just type in whatever you want, or you can select a text file, bring in a specific file that has specific text in it, or you can use a smart string to have specific things be automatically included. Many of the other commands found in the Drawing and Schedules toolkit in model mode are also found in the Drawing and Schedules toolkit here in Page Builder, such as delete and edit